you, Boulder, a safe haven for anti-Semitism. For those of you outside of the U.S., if you're not aware, Boulder is where the rejects of Berkeley go. So Berkeley is probably the most far left colleges, one of them in our era. But Boulder is a good second place. And now they're being accused of all the shit they've been accusing us of. Isn't that just tragic? Yeah, when they were accusing us of everything, the nuance didn't matter. Oh, only a Nazi would even use that hateful word. And here they are being literal Nazis, expecting sympathy. Yeah, sorry. Weren't you the ones that said always punch Nazis? The plight of the Jewish people as history's most persecuted minority has persisted for millennia. So many things I can say to that. Even today, tiny hats are denied recognition and protection as a minority group, and amid resurging anti-Semitism, it's reverberating on Colorado's college campuses. Well, yeah, I mean, I legitimately believe there is an actual rise in anti-Semitism because all the Nazis on the far left are finally taking their masks off. They're not even trying to hide what they are anymore. For almost 2 decades, Rabbi Yisrael Wilhelm has guided the Rohr Chabad Center, nurturing spiritual and academic growth of Jewish students at the University of Colorado Boulder. There's nothing to compare this to, including during the past wars in Israel, lamented Wilhelm. I have never seen such anger and fear from parents, students, and alumni about what's happening. Immediately following the barbaric terrorist attack by Hamas against Israel on October 7th, students for justice in Palestine emerged on campus promoting October 12th Day of Resistance protest with a flyer depicting a paraglider, which was the way Hamas swooped jihadists in for the deadly sneak attack. Protesters chanted, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," a phrase historically used to call for the complete eradication of Israel. Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, this really is just their own tactics being spun back against them. And when they were going after us, the okay hand sign is a white supremacist dog whistle. Now this guy, he needs to live. He needs to learn to live with the same shit. Oh, well, not my problem. My only job here is to add fuel to the fire. Now, let's be clear, this was explicit endorsement of Hamas's brutality to achieve liberation, yet CU's student-led culture events board reportedly shared it on social media. Yeah, they're picking sides, man. So the far left's attitude of, you have to pick a side and you're either for me or 100% or you're against me. Oh, that's backfiring hard because now all the far left factions are going to be fighting each other. As the right's just going to swoop in and take it all, only to throw it away before the next election because they're good at seizing defeat from the jaws of victory. And for all the tiny hat students here, our lives in the past few weeks have really turned upside down because of our connection to Israel and our heritage, said Yehuda Halevi, 21-year-old junior. How does it feel like being in the same college as all these Nazis, though? Wilhelm and Halevi separately recounted multiple anti-Semitic incidents. A man threatened Jewish students to their faces that he would Minecraft them. After calling 911, police filed a report and contacting 2 additional officers. No one showed up on the scene. Probably because they're just waiting for the self-cleaning oven effects to take place. That's likely what it is. Oh, it's a college campus on Boulder full of far-left lunatics. What's the worst that can happen? A student provided a hateful letter intended for Israeli soldiers and their families saying, "Fuck you, genocidal pigs." Cruel taunts and screams are directed at tiny hats at a bar in town for wearing a yarmulke. Oh, yeah. Is that how you actually spell yarmulke? All right. During a protest, a man repeatedly yelled "Death to Israel" at a group of Jewish students. The list goes on. If it makes you feel any better, they're getting their comeuppance. Now that when they were only directing all this hatred at white people, they were able to get away with it. But now that they're directing that same hatred towards a protected group, it's not going to go well for them. Not even a little bit. My wife and I have watched students whose bodies are shaking in fear. Wilhelm told me, I don't want to say every Jewish kid, but many kids is something we've never experienced before. It's literally worse than World War II, right? And then on October 23rd, support came from some faculty members for Hamas, of course. Now, CU Boulder's Ethnic Studies Department released a statement under and university letterhead, read in class and distributed via email to all students and faculty. The department rejecting the word terrorism to describe Hamas's actions. Now, whether or not they're remembered as terrorists entirely depends on who wins. If they win, none of these acts will be recorded, or they will be very much spun. And without condemning Hamas, ESD labeled Palestinian cause a feminazi issue, as though blissfully unaware of the subjugated life of Wamens in patriarchal Gaza or the Stokesno kidnapping of dozens and hundreds of Wamens and girls by Hamas during this war. I still think what we need to do is we need to pay to send all of these, like rainbows for Palestine people to Gaza so that they can do God's work right on the front lines. They claimed the mantle of liberation, deoccupation, decarceration. That makes sense. And decolonization of Palestine, even though tiny hats settled Israel nearly 2,000 years before the subsequent Arab colonization. Israel has not occupied Gaza since 2005. Yeah, that's actually a pretty lame excuse right there. It's like, well, it belonged to us 2,000 years ago, so we get to take it back. You see maybe why there's some resentment there. For a purported academic department, ESD's statement was astonishingly bereft of facts, truth, and integrity. And without a single word of support for Tiny Hat students and faculty, they defended Hamas and spewed material falsehoods. Well, you're doing the right thing there, dude. Call them out for being the anti-Semitic Nazis they are. That's what they would do. If right-wing groups were doing this, they'd be right out there calling them Nazis. So now that now that the left is doing this to each other, fuck them. You don't even have to get involved. All you have to do is watch and laugh. That's it. After Chancellor Philip DeStefano released a tepid statement dissing university from their comments, ESD removed the initial post and published a new one that both Wilhelm and Halevi called even worse. We as a department are staunchly against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Oh, of course. Pick a side. You have to. If you don't pick a side, they will roast you. One side, you'll be canceled either way. And guess what? You did this to yourself. See, this doesn't affect me. The people like us, we've already been pretty much canceled off of everything. It doesn't really matter. You can't cancel us. We don't give a fuck. But for all these virtue signalers, like this is the end for them. So the ESD wrote, hyperlinking anti-Semitism to the Jerusalem Declaration of Anti-Semitism. The declaration's discredited definitions are widely rejected as an attempt to provide cover for left-wing anti-Semitism. I think we have a word for that. Didn't we just call them Nazis? The National Socialists? The Ethnic Studies Department is indoctrinating students in their department about when they're allowed to hate tiny hats and when they aren't allowed to hate tiny hats. Well, I'm scoffed. That's the oldest form of anti-Semitism. Oh, now this is the best part of that article, in my opinion. When they were doing this to white people, when these colleges were indoctrinating their students on when they're allowed to hate white people, it wasn't an issue. They do the exact same thing to a protected group, and all of a sudden, it is the oldest form of anti-Semitism. Like, oh my God, this is so racist. Hashtag I can't even. I am literally shaking right now. It's okay when we do it to you, but if you do it to us, it's evil. Now, let's be real. Tiny hats are justified in feeling unsafe at CU Boulder. Oh man. If only we could just, how do we escalate this? Let's get both sides to cry to the administration of this college that the other side is making them feel unsafe and see what they do. And when any academic department publishes such bigoted drivel, it evokes the aura of institutionalism. You're finally seeing it, huh? So when hostile protests are held on campus, hate and vitriol are spewed ad nauseum. How are tiny hat students supposed to feel safe? Welcome to the life of a conservative in one of these far left campuses. Didn't give a shit when it was happening to conservatives, didn't give a shit when it was happening to white people. And now that it's happening to you, it is a problem, though. The departments like ethnic studies came to be about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So why are tiny hats excluded? Yeah, I know. White people have been asking this from the start. Why are white people excluded? You didn't care then. Now, anti-Semitism rears its ugly head and has continued to do so in different ways throughout time, Halevi said. Right now, we're seeing a modern manifestation of that in our universities and across the world. You're not wrong. It's as simple as that, the denial of the right for the tiny hats to exist and have a place in this world. Man, this is all sounding very familiar. In statements, many crowded universities have lumped anti-Semitism with other categories of bigotry, particularly Islamophobia. Is it really too much to ask to allow tiny hat students and faculty some semblance of peace and safety? Yeah, you got to love these far left tactics. It's just being a decent person. Imagine the uproar of universities declared all lives matter during the burn, loot, murder riots of current year -3. Yeah, that would have been funny, wouldn't it? That would have been. Yeah, imagine if the universities dare point out the hypocrisy and the racism on the other side. Now, we are a minority in the world, we're a minority in the U.S., we're a minority on the campus, and we deserve to be treated the same level of concern. However, he added, see, right there, that's objectively false. You can't force anyone to care about you. And I will say, once again, I'll say the same thing I've been saying for a while. If you don't care about me and you don't care about my problems, or even better, like you are the one that's the cause of a lot of my problems, or you laugh at my problems and say that they're insignificant, and then you expect me to shed tears for you and care for your problems, you're high, you're delusional. If you don't care about me and my problems, I don't care about you and yours. You're on your own. Go cry to someone who cares. Now, the University of Colorado and its leadership aren't the only academic institutions in Colorado to utterly fail their tiny hat students and faculty, but their inaction and tolerance of such prejudice makes them complicit. Good. Hold them to their own standards. This I'll agree with. Here I'll support you fully. And from regents to administrators, condemnation must come strongly and unequivocally. Colorado's college campuses must never become safe havens for anti-Semitism. Well, start canceling them. Go ahead. Like dude, the right isn't even involved in this fight anymore. This is just left versus left. All the right is doing is feasting on some snacks while watching from the sidelines and enjoying the show. They're just there eating popcorn. And both sides of this conflict are agreeing about it, demanding that we help them. No, sorry. The only help I'm going to give you is if you could point me to a fire, I'll pour gasoline on it. This is the best thing that could have happened to us. The army of cannibals we've been fighting against has finally gotten hungry and turned on each other. And this is exactly what I said was going to happen, isn't it? How far now, or how long now have I been saying one of the best strategies we got is, like, since we're the ones that create everything of value, all we got to do is just wait them out. Just lay low. These are professional victims. They're perpetual victims. They always need an oppressor. So if there isn't any oppressors around, they will start turning on each other, accusing each other of being the oppressor. And once they do and they start fighting, it just bust out the lawn chairs and the popcorn and just enjoy. And egg them on too, both sides. Keep egging them on.